what gets you in a seat is how controversial you can be, how much of a bully you can be, how much of an asshole you can be, how much you can talk about fucking, Israel having sky lasers. That gets you, votes.
I did vote for Hillary. I did vote for Harris. And I was thinking how, especially with Hillary, I'm actually kind of glad that she was not our first woman president. Because if you think about it, that's going to be what's in history books forever. And of course, no candidate is perfect. But who would we want to always remember as being the first woman president? Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Doom Scroll Club podcast. I am Cody and I'm here with Calvin. And today we are here to bring you all the Doom Scroll goodness. Did you want to go over the topics we're going to cover today, Calvin?
Yeah, so today we are going to be talking about Jillian Michaels, famous coach from The Biggest Loser. We have the Trump and Putin meetup in Alaska, the power grab of DC and what that has turned into and what the repercussions of that are, as well as the lovely trolling by our little dawn interference.
Sorry. Water bottle. I was looking for my fidget toy and then I just gonged. So,
Dawn. And finally, the Gavin Newsom trolling Trump situation, which has been our little bit of entertainment in the political world. So, and of course, we always end it with what we're watching. So let's dive into Jillian. Oh wait, well first, Cody, how was your week?
Not too bad. Nothing crazy. Just watching the news, keeping tabs on what's happening, and just riding out another week. How about you?
The week's been busy. I spent majority of the week in Texas for work, so that was always fun and terrifying at the same time. But yeah, it's, the week's blown by and there's been so much shit happening that it feels like we can't catch a break.
I know it's hard to keep up, especially in detail. If something happens occasionally, it's easier to get all the information and kind of do a deep dive. But when there's just constant things happening, you're just like, I don't have all the capacity and time to really learn about the situation as much. So I mean, tried my best. We might have a little bit of ignorance, thrown in there, but I think Jillian Michaels is a good place to start. I know she is someone who I followed for a long time because I'm a nutrition and fitness coach. I watched The Biggest Loser growing up. Did you watch The Biggest Loser?
I did watch a couple seasons, yeah.
Okay.
And it's early stages.
Yeah, it was back in the days, when a lot of things that wouldn't be acceptable now were acceptable then. And it's crazy to say, it feels like it wasn't even that long ago, but we've just, we've changed a lot, I feel like.
Yeah.
But, or maybe not actually changed, but at least tried. I don't know.
We started changing. It's just, it's kind of slipped back.
Yeah. We're making America great again, of course. So that's, important, right? Just kidding.
Yeah.
So, did you want me to read the little summary with Jillian?
Sure.
All right. So, if anyone hasn't been aware, Jillian Michaels has become more of a political commentator for the right recently. I mean, kind of recently. I feel like it started after COVID. She started getting more and more political, and it has a lot to do with who she's dating, because previously she was very left-leaning, right? And she started dating I don't even know who her girlfriend is right now. She started dating a woman who is conservative, and she mentioned that I used to listen to her podcast, not so much for fitness advice, but for the banter between her and her co-host, who was named Janice at the time, because they were funny. They had good chemistry. Something happened. Janice quit. I stopped listening, honestly, because I guess apparently I like Janice, and that was she was funny. Um, so yeah, she started talking more and more through COVID and getting a little bit more um, you know red pilled and talking about her girlfriend who's conservative, and I think that's really what kind of got the ball rolling with things. Now she's just straight up like right wing uh, Trump supporter, and everyone's asking, what happened? What happened? And I think she's always been problematic in some way, shape, or form. So not a lot. Maybe she's just being herself. But to summarize what happened most recently that everyone is talking about, she went on CNN August 14th, defending Trump against claims he's whitewashing slavery. She argued you cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race. She said that less than 2% of white Americans owned slaves and claimed Americans were the first race to try to end slavery. Um, she complained Smithsonian exhibits focused too much on white racism and downplayed slavery's systemic impact on Black Americans. This fits her shift to right wing commentator. She's gone full MAGA. She's backing Trump, criticizing woke culture. And yeah, so basically, people are talking. And I think, with the history of Jillian Michaels, I feel like this is just kind of her way of doing shit, because it's when she wasn't getting attention, she would say some like off the wall comment about Lizzo or some shit. And then people would start talking, and or it was, her endless lawsuits with people actually suing her over her fat burners. And she's been very outspoken in the fitness space about, being against GLP-1s and how they're dangerous, or, she doesn't think it's a good way for people to lose weight, or they don't need them, or yeah, they don't need them, blah, blah. Well, also forgetting the fact that she sold fat burners at one point, which, one, didn't even work, are not even regulated by the FDA, and just complete and utter bullshit, where at least GLP-1s are regulated, they do work, and she's against them. And I don't understand the difference. Talk about some cognitive dissonance there. But that just kind of leads the way to say that she's someone who tends to speak on things that she thinks she's educated on, but she's actually not. So this is how she gets herself in trouble like this, because as we know, you know, slavery had a massive impact on Black Americans. Whether it was 2% or not, which, I think statistically is not correct.
Mm-hmm.
Saw someone say how it actually was upwards to more in like the 4.22% or something, based off of it being like located in the South and yada yada. Like I said, ignorance. It's it's more than 2%, and that also doesn't talk about things that still impacted Black Americans even after slavery was not legal anymore. Talk about like sundown towns, and just that systemic thing that just kind of, the discrimination that just never left. They still face discrimination, obviously, and they just seem to think that because there is nothing legally screaming racism or slavery, that it's just something that's in the past. And I think it was very upsetting, but also she has a Black daughter that she adopted, actually. So I feel like that even makes it worse. I don't know if she thinks she can speak on it because of this, or I don't know. So yeah, what are your thoughts on it, Calvin?
I just did a quick ChatGPT check, and according to ChatGPT, nationwide, right before the Civil War, about 8%, so 8% of all American families owned slaves. In the South specifically, it was roughly 1 in 3 families, so about 33% owned slaves. That was usually concentrated among wealthier white families. most Southern whites were poor farmers who owned no slaves, and then larger scale slaveholders. So that would be people who owned 20 or more enslaved people. That was about 1%. So it is a decent size percentage. It's definitely not 2% of Americans, by any close means. But yeah, I think, Jillian Michaels, I also liked her in the beginning. When I watched Biggest Loser, you watch her and Bob, and she definitely thrived on controversy and pushing people to their limits, past their limits. I was actually, I started watching this new documentary on Netflix, which you recommended to me, about The Biggest Loser. And one of the contestants who won, I think it was like the first or second season, he talked about when they announced that he won, Jillian, like, she was his coach, so she walked up to him and gave him a hug, and instead of being like, congratulations, I'm so proud of you, or anything like that, she was like, you just made me $1 million. Like, that's where her head is. Like, she doesn't care about people, she cares about herself and what's gonna get her to success. So that definitely, like, shines a huge light on that.
That's crazy.
But yeah, she. I mean, I don't know how anyone can sit at a news table or whatever, and she was talking with people of color. It wasn't like she was with a whole group of she's talking to the faces of people of color, and saying this stuff. And we're now on the heels of what sounds like the Trump administration, replacing PBS with Prager University, and their whole curriculum is about yeah, slavery was bad, but at least we did that instead of murdered the people. Like, that's their justification for it. So I mean, the more as humans, the more we try and get away from our history, instead of being like, hey, this is what happened, this is why we can never do this again. We're just gonna make the same mistakes, and we're seeing that now with the MAGA administration, because we're watching that administration literally do the same steps that Hitler and the Nazis did when they were coming to power. It's this, you look at like a timeline, and it's almost identical. And unfortunately, people fall for it, because it's the same reason why people fell for the Nazi regime. Is like, it's slow things that get added, so it's not so stark all of a sudden, and you make justifications for those things. But yeah, Jillian Michaels, she's, I can't remember. I feel like there was another thing that happened, like, probably 10 years ago, where she kind of was like canceled for something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember her name being in the headlines a lot. And didn't she get fired from The Biggest Loser?
Let me check.
Because that might be what I'm thinking of. I might be thinking that she got fired from The Biggest Loser for something. But yeah, she's, for someone who, she's also, she identifies as a lesbian. So she's part of the LGBTQ community, and the fact that she's not only a MAGA supporter, but she's just I don't know. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so it says Jillian Michaels, she left the show on her own accord, citing fundamental differences with the producers. While she made multiple appearances and departures throughout the show run, her final exit was a decision to move on, not dismissal. So yeah, apparently she left. She also, has expressed dissatisfaction with how she was portrayed on the show, of course, feeling that viewers didn't see the full picture of her relationships with the contestants, because she was that drill sergeant, one that was yelling and, screaming in people's faces. So that was what she was kind of known for, being the tougher trainer. And, she won a lot of the shows, between her and Bob, because it was kind of a competition.
Yeah.
But yeah, so according to this article I just pulled up, it's claiming that her and Bob are still, she says she's still friends with Bob Harper and new job. I don't think that is true. From what I recall, they had a falling out, and I almost remember her talking about it being over that he made more money than her, and like he wouldn't stand up for her to be paid more or something along those lines. And then that's how they had a falling out with the friendship, because she was like, "Oh, you get paid more because you're a man," and um, that sort of thing. So Bob Harper and Jillian Michaels. Let's see if we can find out, because I know they mentioned something about Bob Harper saying that she never reached out to him when he had a heart attack, and everyone was like, "Well, that's bullshit." Um, but friendship. Let me see if I can get some more info. Um, it says, despite working together for years on The Biggest Loser, they have not maintained a close friendship. While they were colleagues and appeared friendly on the show, they were not besties and have not kept in touch since Michaels left the show in 2013, according to Bob Harper. Harper even publicly stated that Michaels did not reach out to him after his heart attack. Uh, so, yeah, I believe she talked about it on her podcast once, so it's nothing I can really like pull up to confirm.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's what I remember her talking about, because yes, I did listen to her podcast, and it it sucks because you almost, I mean, you almost want to believe her to be like, oh, because shows do edit a shit ton, and they will portray you how they want to portray you. Uh, but I feel that like they portrayed a certain side of her that is real, and regardless, not the best not the best way to coach people and stuff like that. But of course, it was a show, and I'm sure there was pressures of the producers and all that shit. But still, it's not like she never really came out of just being the Biggest Loser coach. I think she tried, and that's where she would throw in some controversy. She just like pops up randomly if you notice, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but she hasn't really done anything since Biggest Loser besides maybe like podcasting and selling her shitty supplements. And now she's made the biggest appearance, I feel, since The Biggest Loser, and she has her own show, her own YouTube channel, and she's been having right wing people come on. I think she's had some middle ground or maybe even some left wingers come on and talk, which, yeah, it's good that she's having people from both sides come and have a conversation. Um, but is it really a conversation? She does tend to steamroll people sometimes and just kind of, you know, interrupt and whatever when she feels strongly about things. But she definitely feels strongly about trans women in sports. I know she's okay with like transition and trans people in general. I know she's opposed to uh, youth transition, but generally she supports trans people. And like as adults, you can do what you want. I think she even had Blair White on her show. I didn't watch it because I just don't have energy for rage. But like, it's yeah, she's trying to basically rebrand herself as a political commentator, and people are kind of like, what makes her qualified for this? And let me tell you, the same qualifications we have she has, which is none.
That is scary. That is absolutely scary.
Yes. She always like pretended to be more educated with nutrition and fitness than she was too. She'd always be like, I'm a nutritionist, I'm a nutritionist. You know what, there's no I'm a nutritionist. There is no like nothing, no credentials. I mean, a certificate, sure, cool. You can specialize in nutrition and get a certificate for it, but it doesn't mean anything. So she likes to make herself seem more educated and important than she is, and that's just been kind of her MO since day one. So that's my beef with her. Um, and as everyone, the world saw, she was using that tactic on CNN, and it just didn't go well.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely didn't go well for her, and you we talked about like The Biggest Loser, and that was a show that was meant for views and that shock and awe, and there, I mean, there's definitely many aspects of it. It's definitely looking for the target audience of the people who are in similar situations, who are wanting to lose weight and get inspired, and then you have the target audience of people who like to mock people who are different. But I think when it comes down to it, that show, which she and Bob were a part of, so they are a part of this, whether or not she had differences with it down the road. She was a part of it for a long time. Really, that show wasn't about helping people. That was about kind of manipulating and taking advantage of people, because it was about making drastic transitions that were really unhealthy, but also like not giving them the tools after to succeed. It's when I was watching this documentary, and I haven't finished it, I think I have one episode left, but you're looking at all these contestants that are coming back and talking about it, and majority of them are still out of shape and regained the fat, and or whatever, and it's because the goal of the show wasn't to help these people, it was for views, right? So it was like, once they were done with them, they're done. If if they were a show where it was like, hey, we want to help these people transform, and we're going to do it in a healthy way, and we're going to set them up with therapy, and we're going to have, like, what Dr. Now does, right? That's his big thing with My 600-Pound Life. It's not about just doing drastic diets and drastic exercise if the people are willing to do it, which most of the time they're not. But it's about therapy and the tools that they're going to need after they succeed and get their goal, because it's not just a fix all and everything's good. If you don't know what you're doing, and if you haven't hit the reasons why you got to that weight in the first place, you're just going to go back without resolving those that structural integrity of the problem.
Yeah. Basically, the show does it in this way that is not sustainable, because it's very short amount of time trying to just lose as much weight as possible, and they're in this kind of false environment where they're out of their own environment. They are have cameras around them. They're on this camp situation, and they're working out like all day, every day, and they have their meals that are specific calories and stuff like that. And then when they go home, they don't know how to implement those things on their own, because it was just this completely different environment that is not realistic. It is not sustainable. So yeah, they're setting people up for failure, essentially. And it just kind of blows your mind to think she could be so against GLP-1s that actually help. You do have to be on them forever, or else it'll be the same situation. You will most likely gain it back. But it's just kind of like, she's no one to talk, or even talk on health, when this is something that she contributed to. And I almost feel like, as a trainer, if I was on the show, I'd feel responsible. I'd be like, okay, guys, free training for life, because I want to make sure you are set and you have the tools that you need. But it was just kind of like, she just, let it drift off just like everything else. And yeah, it wasn't for long-term success, unfortunately. And people got exploited, and it's, it's unfortunate.
If I was a trainer and my goal is helping people going onto that show, I would have been like, you can cut my pay, I don't need a raise, but I want to make sure that every contestant that leaves here has the proper tools, has we cover their continuous coaching for a year or 2 years, we cover nutritionist, we cover therapy, and we make sure that this is a long-term goal for them and not just a short-term for the show.
Yeah, for sure. And if anyone's wondering, okay, so she's now married to Deshauna Marie Minuto. They married in 2022 after dating since 2018. Minuto is a fashion designer and owns the clothing line Letterino. She's now a stepmom to Michael's 2 children. So don't buy Letterino. I've never heard of it. But yeah, she's the one that was conservative and rubbed off on Jillian versus the other way around, unfortunately.
Which is weird because, the fact that she's still defending Trump when Trump is pushing now for the turnover of, same-sex marriage, in his administration. So you think that, like, that would be like, oh, like, he's really trying to fuck up my life, not just, other people, it doesn't affect me. Like, this is actually going to affect her life, and still defending it. So I'd be interested to see what she has to say on that, because
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting because there are a lot of MAGA gays. Uh, and I feel like they're so self hating, they could just go along with it and still support it and be like, oh, I don't need marriage. Like it's just bizarre that they can't even criticize that. They know that the MAGA base is not okay with the gay community. I think a lot of the MAGA gays who want to, they like to pretend, they're like quote unquote normal gays.
mm-hmm.
They're the ones that throw trans people under the bus, being like, we're the normal ones. They're crazy. They're making us look crazy. Let's stop this bullshit, whatever. But, I always said, if they had the chance, MAGA's going to go after gay marriage. And then what? But again, they're so like self-hating that I feel like they're going to support it. And it's crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
absolutely.
So, yeah, unfortunate. But we'll keep tabs on that a little more. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention on that? Or should we move on to the next topic?
I think we can move straight on into to Trump and Putin.
Do you want to start off that one?
Sure. So August 15th, there was a summit in Alaska with Putin and Trump. This was supposed to be over talks of ending the war between Ukraine and Russia. It lasted about 3 hours, but ended with no concrete deals on Ukraine. Trump wanted a ceasefire with land swaps, but Putin didn't budge, and they conceded failure. Trump looked subdued, shelved threats, and adopted Putin's route to peace. Vague progress cited no details. Putin scored. The summit happened, but it was a thud. So, yeah, I've heard a couple different like rumors. I don't know if there's any solidarity behind them, but like I heard rumors that like there was a chance that Trump was going to offer parts of Alaska as like a deal to try and get it ended, which I would love to see the Alaskans take that, because that would that's like one of the reddest states there is. But yeah, I think it was just an overall failure. The other thing is like the way that the Trump administration did it was completely like different from other talks. I guess Putin like rode in the same parade thing with Trump with his Secret Service. He gifted Putin an eagle statue desk thing. There was some other stuff, but like, yeah, he definitely like, just basically bent over and, shook his ass for him, basically. So, I mean, the other thing is like, they're doing peace talks about a war between Russia and Ukraine wasn't involved. So, Trump's supposed to like offer Ukrainian land to Russia to stop the war, but we have no right to make that offer. So it was just completely offbeat in the first place. It'd be one thing to be like, hey, we're going to host a talk between the two countries, let's, and we'll be like the mediator or something. But
Yeah.
Trump's just trying to make, he's trying to get any headlines he can that look good. So he's trying to push the whole, I stopped the war, I ended things. I did see. I'd have to fact check it, but I did see this morning that he was quietly removed from the Nobel Peace Prize nominations. So I think that's great if that's true. But other than that, it was just another stupid attempt at trying to, make himself look like he can accomplish things, but he can't accomplish shit, and he's just stupid. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think he definitely went in hoping that he would have some sort of distraction again from like the Epstein situation. He wanted, he wanted something to gain his base back to be like, well, look what he did. He created peace and, have that out overpower the Epstein situation or just all the bullshit that has been happening. But he came away even more like fucked. I don't think he was expecting that, honestly. You can just tell by the way he acted after it. And I think he released a statement on his Truth Social. Yes. Okay. So, okay, let me find it. But basically, it was along the lines like, I mean, he put so much out there. Let me find it. Uh, he also, yeah, okay. So he said, if I got Russia to give up Moscow as part of the deal, the fake news and their partner, the radical left Democrats, would say I made a terrible mistake and a very bad deal. That's why they are the fake news. Also, they should talk about the 6 wars, etc. I just stopped. 6 wars. He just stopped. What? Yeah.
If anything, he's helping start more wars. So I don't know
Yeah.
what he's talking about.
There's just growing tensions. And I know he tweeted out something random today. It just said Bella. And I don't know that we know what that means yet. But yeah, it's just B, capital B, ELA. And someone asked Grok what it meant. And Grok says, Trump's cryptic Bella post on Truth Social likely references Belarus. Bella means white in Slavic, as in white Russia. It aligns with Putin's August 17th briefing to Belarusian leader Lukashenko on their Alaska summit outcomes, including Ukraine peace proposals like land swaps. Belarus has been key in Russia-Ukraine dynamics, alternative, a typo or nod to South Africa's Bella Bill, which Trump has criticized. So no one knows. Like, Grok just made a guess, essentially, but no one actually knows what the fuck he's trying to say. Literally all the comments are like, what is this? But yeah, I think he is, overly confident to think that he was going to make a deal with Putin, and Putin was just like, that's funny. Fuck no, we're not doing anything without Ukraine. It's like, you want ceasefire? Cool, let us have Ukraine. And obviously that's not what we've been wanting. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump was like, sure. But yeah,
we can have it.
Yeah, it's like to not even have Zelensky in on this. What? It's a little strange, a little bizarre. Oh, I know the press conference was not a press conference, and Putin was like, making faces about the noise and the crowd of the press, and it just did not turn out at all how they were hoping. And did you? I mean, okay, so I know you already touched on this a little bit, but about the papers that got left behind, and yeah. So they're trying to like downplay that and stuff, but yeah. So it says at around 9 a.m. on Friday, 3 guests at Hotel Captain Cook, a 4-star hotel located 20 minutes from the joint base Elmendorf Richardson in Anchorage, where leaders from the U.S. and Russia convened, found the documents left behind in one of the hotel's public printers. NPR reviewed photos of the documents taken by one of the guests, who NPR agreed not to identify because the guests said they feared retaliation. I mean, fair. So the first page in the printed packet disclosed the sequencing of the meetings for August 15th, including the specific names of the rooms inside the base in Anchorage where they would take place. It also revealed that Trump intended to give Putin a ceremonial present. POTUS to President Putin. The document states American bald eagle desk statue. So they never quite got through that, the gift. But it says on Saturday, White House Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly dismissed the papers as a multi page lunch menu and suggested leaving the information on a public printer was not a security breach. The U.S. Department of State did not respond to requests for comment. Pages 2 through 5 of the documents list the names and phone numbers of the U.S. staff members, as well as the names of 13 U.S. and Russia state leaders. The list provided phonetic
Pronunciations.
pronouncers for all the Russian men expected at the summit, including Mr. President Putin. So kind of tootin' Putin, you know. Uh, Pages 6 and 7 of the packet described how lunch at the summit would be served and for whom. A menu included the documents indicated that the luncheon was to be held in honor of His Excellency Vladimir Putin. So yeah, well, fuck us in the asshole. Like, yeah, let's just celebrate His Excellency. Like, was Trump hoping to just kiss his ass and he's gonna say, "Yeah, sure, I'll stop," or what? What was happening here?
I don't know. I think Trump probably was just hoping that like Putin would say like you're doing a good job, my boy, and a little pat on the back, and Putin's probably like, yeah, doesn't give a fuck. Um, yeah, it's just so stupid. It's so stupid. And again, this is just like you said. It's another distraction tactic away from the whole Epstein situation and everything else that's going wrong. Um,
I couldn't hear half of what you just said, so I don't know what happened. It was like cutting out. But I'm sure the audience still heard what you said. But I was
it's
like,
probably because I yawned.
well, it's still cutting out a little bit. I'm not sure if it's the internet or what is happening there. Let's see if I can. Oh, yeah, someone's internet's slowing down. I don't know if it's mine or yours.
Probably mine.
Let's see where we're at. It says both of us are 99% uploaded, so
Yeah,
I'm
mine's
not
showing 100.
seeing.
Yeah.
You just need a second. But anywho, so yeah, no deal with Russia. So should we move on to the next one?
Yeah. So do you want to cover this one?
Sure. So this one's definitely a little terrifying. The situation in DC with Trump's federal takeover. So Trump signed an executive order on August 12th, trying to seize direct control of DC's Metropolitan Police Department, citing emergency powers. To override local limits on federal involvement, DC sued AG Pam Bondi and the admin. Mayor called it un-American, and protests erupted outside MPD and courthouse. So a judge blocked it temporarily. Trump backed off, leaving the DC chief in charge after the deal. Dems pushed a resolution to end it. Although the police chief stays in charge, there's still the National Guard that was deployed and apparently are supposed to be there for like 30 days or something along those lines. So they're saying it's to help reduce crime, and they're basically telling homeless people they either go to a shelter or whatever, or they go to jail, kind of situation. I've seen footage of them just, taking down camps and stuff like that. And to be fair, same shit I know Newsom has even done stuff like that in California where they destroy the camps and it became this thing where, it's illegal to be homeless. So, I'm not going to say that that's much different than what Newsom has done in California a few times. That being said,
It's not. It's at least it's not militarized. We're not
exactly.
seeing. We're not seeing tanks in the streets because of homeless people, which we were seeing
Right.
in DC, unfortunately.
Yeah, although, we know Trump tried to call in the National Guard into California and, with the ICE situation with mass deportations, because there was mass protests that erupted due to ICE just grabbing people off the street at their work, at court hearings, in places they had no business really. And it's one thing to go after legit criminals, and it's another to go after people who, okay, maybe they're not here legally, but they're also not contributing anything bad. they're just working, they are contributing to our economy, our society, and it feels like he's going after whoever's the easiest, which is the working people because they're at work. So, Home
They're
Depot,
also,
all that
yeah,
stuff.
but they're also pulling people who are here legitimately, who have been following the legal process. They have been pulled. They have been sent to El Salvador. We've seen now cases of actual U.S. citizens who were born here being pulled and detained just because of the color of their skin or their last name. I've even seen people talking on TikTok. I've seen a couple people now who have left the country on vacation and come back and are American citizens born here, and they've gotten detained just because of their last name. So it's not anything close to, they're just pulling people who are criminals or who are following. It is a racial thing. I mean, I don't know how you can string it any other way. But, and we're now seeing reports of, or we're seeing posts. I don't want to say reports because, this is, I haven't, backed this up, but I am seeing posts of people talking about like missing homeless people who were there and now just nowhere to be found. And we don't know if they were arrested. We don't know if they just moved, which is scary.
Yeah.
Just the thought of like, people can just take people off the streets. No one knows what's happening to them. And it kind of goes, it looks into like the future of, there's a bill that's trying to get passed where it's like an anti-pornography bill. And I don't know the exact words for it, but like it's something about like, certain indecency is illegal, but that definition of indecency is loosely defined, and what the goal of the far right or of Project 2025 is for that definition to include LGBTQ people just existing.
Yeah.
So, I know it's a big jump, from what we're seeing from people who are supposedly criminals, but you look at that and you look at the similarities and like how hard would it be for them to jump to, okay, we've defined this is now illegal. Well, we're just going to send people and start rounding up LGBT people. We're going to start with the trans people because that's going to be the least resistance we're going to get from everybody, because people don't like trans people all of a sudden, and we're just going to start, arresting them and calling them sex offenders, which is in the Project 2025 outline is what they want to do. So, when you're thinking about what they can do to homeless people and what they can do to immigrants who aren't breaking the law, who are here, it's very scary about what can happen to us next. So it's something where like, if we can't be in the mindset of, well, it's them, it has to be, well, this could be us, and it can quickly go from us to interracial couples. And I think we're already seeing another I don't know if it's a bill yet, but I was watching a video of a legislator or something, I can't remember, but he was talking about how like, states should, have the opportunity to make interracial relationships illegal. Well, it's like a whole nother thing. It's like it's not stopping at one. It's like going to keep going until the only people who are safe are going to be straight, cis, white men. And I'm not even going to say women, because they also want to take away their right to vote, and strip their abilities. So it is definitely like we are seeing a really quick snowball effect happening, and it's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, for sure. And I know this might sound far-fetched to some people, but we don't call it the Doom Scroll Club for nothing. We're gonna go there. uh but it's just we just want to emphasize that this is how things escalate, potentially. And yeah, when I saw what he was doing with DC, and knowing what he tried to do with California, but Newsom, fought back, and the people fought back with the protests and all that stuff. You know, I think it's like a trial run, and I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to do the same thing in other blue cities like New York or Chicago or whatever. And it just seems like he's constantly trying to test how much power he can grab. And yeah, so that's always the fun part. And there's also just this, I don't know, I've seen things floating around. I know a lot. There's a lot of Epstein and distractions and stuff. But someone pointed out, have you seen JD Vance like defending him? Where has JD Vance exactly been? And he's been on vacation like most of this time, right? But it's almost as if he's just waiting for his time to be the president. And then there's
Yeah.
people, oh yeah, the fucking like fuck Nick Fuentes, right? So Nick Fuentes went off about how essentially the CIA told Trump to, you know, uh, make JD Vance his vice president, or they were going to kill him. And Mike, you know what? That doesn't even sound too far fetched, considering no one even knew who the fuck JD Vance was, and you don't see them together much. It was him and Elon more than it was JD Vance. And yeah, so we just never know what's going on behind the scenes. But I do know there's a strong base of the Heritage Foundation who really is looking to implement Project 2025. And that's where JD Vance is actually more, aligned with that. And they've kind of used Trump as this like way to get their foot in the door because he's a narcissist. They know that they can actually manipulate him because his ego is so fucking big. And they use that to get him to do what they want. It's like, oh, smart thinking, but also you guys are fucking evil, man. Yeah, I don't know where that came from, but I just wanted to say like the DC thing and just your brain goes into. I know people are probably like, stop watching so much Handmaid's Tale or stop watching TV, but I was telling Des the other day, I was like, you know how you watch Handmaid's Tale and they kind of give glimpses into the start, and I don't think they do this until further seasons, but it start like how it kind of started happening. It was like little things, and then suddenly things escalated, and then suddenly they're getting chased through the forest and getting kidnapped, and so I've been trying to keep watch on things and just seeing things slowly kind of escalate. And I was wondering, like, there's plenty of times in The Handmaid's Tale, I'm yelling at her, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get out. And I am just like, would I be yelling at myself on the TV screen right now with what is happening? Or, it's just, you don't want to think that things are going to escalate, but it's just like history says that it can. It's a possibility. It's not impossible. And I don't want to be that asshole who, gets stuck because I wasn't thinking ahead. I'd rather, plan for the worst, hope for the best. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it's absolutely scary, and with Handmaid's Tale, it is those little events that are big. I mean, every time like they lost a right, or women couldn't have bank accounts, or like it was like these were big events, but they were small. And then all of a sudden, there's just a turning point where there's no going back, and if you don't, in their case, if you didn't take the chance to get out while you could, your ability to leave is basically impossible, and so that's, I think when we're going over all the stuff and we're talking about, these situations and these possibilities, we obviously don't want this stuff to happen, but it is important for everybody to be aware and be keeping an eye, because there is, if it is going to go that way, there's going to be a turning point, and if we need to get out, we have to get out before that turning point happens. So figuring out when that's going to be, that's all, definitely hard. And obviously most people don't have the ability to leave. It is a financial situation for a lot of people, and it's also, it's not easy to just go to another country. There's definitely, certain countries are more open into taking refugees, but you have to meet a certain status. We're looking at Canada, where we're seeing a lot more, at least I'm seeing a lot more videos on TikToks of people being like, oh, it's so easy to come to Canada. You can, do a refugee status, and then you like do actual research into it, and you're finding out that it's not. Like, basically you have to be like, if you are in your country, they're going to kill you type of situation before they'll really see your case. And the other thing that people need to be aware of is, if you do go to, like, Canada and try and do that and you get denied, you can't try again. You get one chance. So, you can't just jump the gun. You have to make sure that, you're doing your research. But that being said, what I'm saying is, we hope this isn't going this direction. We hope that, our checks and balances are somehow going to work out, and someone's going to stand up and, stop this from getting further. But we have to be aware and vigilant of what's going on around us. And also, like I said, it's a quick turn for, it going from immigrants to homeless people to trans people to gay people to interracial people. It is a quick shift. Once they get approval for one, and they start pushing that door a little bit more open. So we have to be vocal and defending for everyone who's at potential of losing rights or in harm, because if we don't, people won't for us. But I think, jumping in, unless you have anything else to say, I think, there are some people that are pushing back. We definitely saw that with the redistricting with Texas. We saw that the Democratic leaders left, so they couldn't hold a quorum. And as much as Greg Abbott kind of, stomped his feet and threw a temper tantrum and tried to get them all arrested, I do believe some did end up coming back, but the redistricting did not pass. So, that's a huge win. I think
thought
they
it
probably
did pass.
I mean, I could be wrong. I just saw a video where they said it didn't pass.
Check, because right. Let me ask. Okay.
AI, back us up.
Yeah, we need a little song, like a waiting song.
do 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 do.
Yes.
But yeah, while you're, oh, did you find it?
Yeah, it says short answer no. The Texas redistricting plan has not passed. The Texas House failed to reach a quorum. The minimum number of lawmakers needed to vote because over 50 Democratic state lawmakers fled the state to block it, stalling the process. The first special session ended August 15th without a vote. Governor Greg Abbott called a second session starting the 18th, so that's going to be tomorrow at noon. However, Democrats are expected to return Monday, August 18th, and the plan could pass soon if they can't keep stalling. So, though lawsuits are ready, gearing up to challenge it, and, we did see Newsom. I've been getting a lot of ads. Seen him put out that he is basically going to have people vote on redistricting California to counteract the 5 seats that would be lost or taken from Democrats. So he's trying to be like, I'm doing it the right way. I'm having, the people of California vote on it, which could fucking backfire, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see. But at least he's trying to do something. I think there's some other states that have also made the same threats. I believe New York is one of them, and another one have also talked about redistricting their maps. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I feel like all of this is just insane. Um,
Pretty much.
you know, I get it at this point. Like, you have to fight fire with fire, and I feel like the administration that we are under right now doesn't follow rules. They cheat, and so we kind of, if we want to have any sense of balance, we can't just keep playing by the rules, and when they're not playing by the rules, we kind of have to meet them at the same, whatever. But I am enjoying Gavin Newsom trolling Trump and all the tweets, and yeah, it's great. I don't know. I feel like there's just so many people who are just bending the knee and not pushing back, and so it's nice. It's nice to, like, whatever your feeling about Newsom is, he's definitely not perfect, but the fact that he is willing to stand up and do what he's doing when, like, it's Trump's already threatened to have him arrested, just because he's, doesn't want to go, with his policies and all these things. So, good for him, good for anyone who is, standing up for what's right. We're looking at, I think her name's Jasmine Crockett. She's one of the Texas Democrats who fled, and she's one of the kind of rising stars in politics right now for the Democrats. I really enjoy how she pushes back. She's super intelligent. I believe she was an attorney before, but extremely smart woman. Very brave, and it's really nice when we're seeing we're seeing some politicians who are standing up. I definitely wish we would be seeing more of that from some of the right side. It'd be nice to see some Republicans actually standing with their morals and pushing back. I mean, we have seen a couple things with Marjorie Taylor Greene, surprisingly, where she's kind of called out Gaza, or called out Israel for their stance against Gaza. I believe she's also made some stances that were against Trump. I'm not 100% sure on that, but she somehow has. But she's also up for re-election, so she's just gonna say whatever fuck she wants to say to try and stay in her seat. But yeah, I think this is definitely crazy, and what's so insane is between the gerrymandering and all the stuff that's happening in DC and ICE and LA, you look at the Republican Party, who their stance has always been less government control, more power to the states or to the individual or whatever, and this is an administration who's taking government control to a whole nother level than we've had before. So it's always interesting to see people still defending him.
Yeah. There's also an honorable mention. His name's James Tallarico. He's a Texas House of Representative, whatever. So he's an American politician, pastor, and former teacher. And he was on Joe Rogan recently. If anyone wants to learn more about him, he's incredibly smart, but you can tell he used to be a teacher and a pastor, because he is so well spoken and very intelligent, and he just presents things in ways that people can understand and grasp, and just he makes it make sense. And even Joe Rogan was like, I want to see you run for president one day, which is coming from the guy who fucking helped Trump get elected, basically. But so he's just another one to kind of keep an eye on. He's very young still, so it's not going to be something that he's going to run for president in 2028.
We're the same age, apparently.
Yeah, he could if he wanted to. I think he'd be 35. But strategically, probably not the best idea. But yeah, so with the Newsom situation, I feel okay. So I'm glad, someone's fighting against Trump. Newsom, there's things. I feel like he could be like a gemstone, just like his hair. There is something about the guy that rubs me the wrong way, and I
Mm-hmm.
would love to think Newsom is fighting for the people, but Newsom is fighting for Newsom. He's fighting for his presidential campaign. I can see that. I'm not fucking dumb,
Mm-hmm.
Uh, a lot of what he's trying to do is set himself apart so that he stands out, and he has a strategy. And he is taking a completely different route than any other Democrat has taken, where he's just mocking Trump. And it's working. So, although I know it's for himself and he's benefiting off of it, of course, it's also hilarious because no one has thought of it yet. And it's working.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's rough. I would still, I would support him if he ran, because lesser of two evils.
Mm-hmm.
But he's definitely got his issues about him
Oh, yeah.
as well. Uh,
100%.
so if it comes to it, and it's him or JD, of course I'm voting for Newsom. Do I wish we had some better candidates? Fuck yeah, I do. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Should I share my screen and show some of the stuff that he's been uh, tweeting? Or I guess it's not him. I don't think he's the one writing them. I think it's whoever he's paying to put out,
Yeah.
his press stuff. Um, but yeah, all right. So, uh, it's actually the tweets are coming from his press office, so I think it's his press people that are writing it for him. I don't think he has the time or energy or etc. to do it himself. So whoever his press person is, you get a high five because you're hilarious. But yeah, so let's start. So basically, what he's been doing is putting out tweets that sound exactly like Trump with the cap letters, and just how, oh, this is also really fucking hilarious because it actually like points out how fucking weird the MAGA stuff is,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny because when like the MAGA people see this right here, they're like, "What the fuck?" That's fucking
Mm-hmm.
weird. And then it's like, yeah, it is. But for some reason, it's only weird when Newsom people do it and not
Mm-hmm.
Trump. But yeah, so his latest tweet regarding, Trump's weird little Bella Donald Tiny Hands has
Tiny
written
hands.
his autobiography this morning. Unfortunately, low IQ, he spelled it wrong. Beta, soon you will be fired. Beta, because of my perfect, beautiful maps. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So it's like, it's pretty hilarious, the way um, that. Let's find some more here. Like, this is pretty funny. Why do I hurt all over? Newsom. Um, so this is basically a troll account, and it's really funny. If you would like some entertainment, this is a good one. I'm trying to find some more here. Uh, Tommy's account is basically Yelp for toilets now. I wonder how you get the job for this, like to be the one who runs his, press Twitter. Um, but yeah, it's just fun how he is mocking Trump. And they actually showed some of it on Fox News after the summit of what, his press office put out. And there's some there's some Fox commentator there is some Fox commentators being like,
America.
yeah, this sounds ridiculous. Why would you tweet like this or whatever? And it's just they don't like the joke just goes straight over their heads, and it's something. It's something. I'm trying to find. a better one that's like very obvious. Okay. So here's good. So this is the one I think they were addressing, but Trump just fled the podium with Putin. No questions, nothing. Total low energy. The man looked like he'd just eaten 3 buckets of KFC with is he afraid the press will ask about me, America's favorite governor? And the fact that I stole the cameras this week with the maps. Many people are saying he begged Putin to hold his hand. It's tiny on the way out. Admit it, Donnie J. You're terrified because this was the worst week of your life because of me. Gavin Newsom. The maps will end your presidency, retake Congress for the people, and expose your rigged little game. My perfect maps are more beautiful than anything in Trump Tower, which many say. Explain this disaster. Enjoy your flight home, Donald. You're Putin's problem now. I'm America's solution. So yeah, just so you could see it, he's paraphrasing essentially in a way of like exactly how Trump is, and it's hilarious, and I'm here for it. So although I'm not going to give Newsom all the credit because we know it is his people writing these for him, uh, someone gets the credit, and we'll just say like at least he has the balls to put it out there, and so you get a win this week, Newsom, but still skeptical, still very skeptical.
More like his press person, his social media manager gets a win.
Yeah, I want to shake that person's hand and just be like, you're awesome. I hope you get paid well.
But I believe I saw something to where I believe they said that the person who runs his social media is like a 29-year-old woman. So
that's awesome.
That's I believe that would still be a millennial. Maybe I don't think Gen Z, but that might still be a millennial. But I do feel like us millennials of the MySpace era are, and what is it? Whatever the other one was. But basically, we're the best at trolling. So that's the perfect person to hire if that's what your goal is. But yeah, no, that's amazing.
Yeah, so we'll keep tabs on that for a laugh. It's comedic relief, but it'll be interesting. I don't think Trump has addressed it yet, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it if he does. So I don't know. What do you think as far as, I don't know, would you vote for Newsom?
Oh, 100%. If like you said, if it was him versus Trump or him versus JD Vance or him versus just anyone MAGA, anyone who's super far right, I would 100% vote for Newsom if he was the option. I think I have seen James Tallarico. I didn't know his name, but I have seen like videos of him. I think he would also be a great candidate. But of course, you never know with these new younger politicians if they're ready for that type of stand. I was pro Bernie when Bernie was in the running. I switched over to Hillary, obviously, when Bernie wasn't the Democratic chair. I wasn't one of those who decided not to vote just because Bernie didn't get it, because I feel like you have to pick your battles. But I obviously would rather have had Hillary Clinton than Donald Trump. I voted for Kamala. I actually really liked Kamala. I think she was in running before. She was running before against Biden, basically, to become. She was actually my choice in those early stages. I felt like she was pretty even keeled. She wasn't too middle of the road, but she definitely. I think I looked for people who at least have like a good sense of right or wrong. I would like to see AOC in the future. I think she would make a great president. Yeah. But yeah, I think I think also when we look at politicians, we also have to look at, when it comes down to it, they are humans. Politicians aren't going to be perfect. They're not always going to say the right thing. They're not always going to have the 100% best opinion that's going to make everybody happy. And I think we saw that with Pete Buttigieg a couple weeks ago, and he got his kind of negative impact from the community because of his comments on trans people in sports, right? But if you look at Obama when he was coming in, like, I believe he wasn't necessarily pro gay rights. That was something that he opened his mind over time, and I think it was something to do with like his kids, like something like that. But so we have to remember, no one's perfect. You just have to try and look at, when it comes down to someone, are they making choices that, are they just gonna make choices that, I'll say Trump. I feel like he's gonna make any choice that makes him money, makes him. He's definitely a narcissist, and he has a big ego, so he's gonna make choices based off of what's gonna help that. Newsom, I don't 100% know. I do, like you said, I do think that he is definitely doing things to push that presidential run that he's probably going to do. But I don't know. I think right now we haven't really had a lot of good choices. And we're definitely in a system where I don't know. I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago with Elon talking about starting his own party, and that would kind of be good because that would even things out a little bit and take some votes away that maybe an independent would have more of a chance of running. But yeah, our elections are always kind of fucked up. There's never really like a good option. But
No.
back to your question. I just went on a rant for no reason because I don't know why. But yeah, I would vote for Newsom in these circumstances. I definitely would prefer someone else if there was a better option. Like if AOC was running, I would pick AOC over Newsom. But he's definitely the lesser of many evils when it comes to MAGA representatives.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a while before the Democratic Party runs a woman again, because I think they know U.S. is just apparently not ready for a female president. But I was thinking about in hindsight, I did vote for Hillary. I did vote for Harris, and I was thinking how, especially with Hillary, I'm actually kind of glad that she was not our first woman president. Because if you think about it, that's going to be what's in history books forever. And of course, no candidate is perfect. But like, who would we want to always remember as being the first woman president? And I think Harris was a better option than Hillary. But I don't know that I'd still would have been like proud of that, if that makes sense. Not to say that, she's bad in any way, shape, or form. I think it was just like there was a lack of getting to know who she really was. I think she was very cautious about showing who she was and her personality. And, her biggest mistake was not going on Joe Rogan to really have that 2-hour conversation. I think someone was either advising her not to, or she was afraid. And I think that really is what negatively impacted her. People were really wanting to know who she was as a person, and it was really hard to find out who she was. It seemed like she was very scripted, and I understand why. There was a lot to lose. It was a lot of pressure. But I think, Trump played to, our age group, or people like with the internet, and, went on Joe Rogan, and people always say that's what we think won him the presidency, and wish that she would have done the same. But yeah, knowing Hillary now in hindsight, I am glad that she wasn't the first woman to make history books, because the more and more we learn about the Clintons and Epstein, it just seems like they were just as guilty and in bed with Epstein as Trump. And like the Clintons were actually friends with the Trumps and stuff like that. And so it's kind of like, uh, Bernie would have been better, obviously,
Oh
but
yeah.
I'm kind of like, you know what? I'm glad we don't have that forever in our history books of her being the first. Harris, again, better, but not someone that I'd feel like absolute, like she was the best pick. It was just she was our only option at the time. And I
Yeah.
don't want that to be the case for who's the first woman president. I want it to be she was selected, she was chosen, and everyone in the Democratic Party was behind her. And yeah, and so when you think about who that might be, of course, AOC comes to mind. I would, that would be, I'd be proud if she was our first woman president. I know all like, there's no Republicans listening to this, but if they were, they're just like rolling and just like their eyes so hard and cringing. I know she is not loved by the other side, but that just makes it more apparent that, maybe that's why she's the right choice.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And, you know, as much as I like Bernie too, I do think that there needs to be an age cap on running for president. As we have a minimum age, which I think you're right. I believe it is 35. I think there should be an age cap. Whether it's 55 or 60. Like retirement age or something. Because as we've seen with Biden, and now what we're seeing with Trump is this whole presidential health screening isn't honest.
Yeah.
So we can't be putting people who are in the age of having mental decline because of how serious this job is and how much mental agility you have to have. And, it's not just about smarts. You have to be able to take on a lot of stress. And so unfortunately, the older you are, the it is. I mean, I'm 30. I'm gonna be 36, and my brain's already like pretty fried with stuff. So like I can't imagine. I mean, obviously these people build up, to do this, but I don't know. I think that there definitely has to be, and I feel the same with the Supreme Court or our representatives, our senators and stuff. There should be an age cap, and have the ability for younger people coming in to be able to get in seats and represent our states and represent the people. But yeah, again, just another rant.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think we need term limits. And then we also, I wouldn't say it's hard to have an age cap because everyone's different. You got some people who are like 95 and they're super sharp, and and Bernie is pretty sharp still, even though he's old as
Mm.
fuck. So it's just hard because we can't rely on these medical exams. And I feel like there needs to be this like standardized test that they have to make public. Maybe this is already a thing. Like, but it just doesn't work, obviously.
I mean,
Uh,
they might make it public, but doesn't mean that it's true. That's the
right.
thing too. Is like we were told that Biden was completely healthy, and then less than 2 months after he left, like he's got like stage 4 cancer or something like that, and he's got mental decline issues. So that's not something that happened right away. That's something that for it to be that advanced, like if you're doing a health screening like they do with presidents, because they have to like make sure that the presidents are good, that would have been caught. So yeah, I don't know. There's definitely. I mean, we can say the same about everything. Like there's definitely there's not a black or white answer. There's definitely a big gray answer, but you know, we're just seeing a lot more of these older people in power. You're looking at Trump, and just in the last, from his first term, to now, like he's he sounds stupider. Like he's definitely like he doesn't make sense. He's ranting. No one knows what he's talking about. So there's something going on. Maybe their White House is just filled with asbestos, and brain cells are just dying every day. I don't know.
I mean, that makes sense for sure.
It could, you know, I don't know. It's just, I wish I had the answers, but I don't. I don't think any of us really do. But all I know is, you know, it sucks when you feel like it's always like a polar opposite. You know, you either get one way completely far the other way and one way the other, and there feels like there's never any compromise anymore. Like I felt like growing up learning about the judicial system and learning about, you know, the House and the Senate and the president and just the whole thing that you learn on fucking Schoolhouse Rock or whatever. It felt like there was a little bit more collaboration. Not always, but it felt like people spoke to each other with more respect. It felt like there was, you know, there was definitely differing opinions, but there was more decorum, and it just seems like now it's like what gets you in a seat is how controversial you can be, how much of a bully you can be, how much of an asshole you can be, how much you can talk about fucking, you know, Israel having sky lasers, you know, that gets you, you know, votes. Like I don't understand it, you know, like why would you vote for people who just like, you know, say that the world is flat, you know, where it's just it makes no sense.
Yeah.
You know.
We are living in crazy times for sure. And yeah, I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I just hope that the US in general returns to sanity because we've lost our goddamn minds. And we just need a president that is for the people. Like, when is that? Have we ever had a president that's like for the people? Maybe. It's been a while. But it's like someone who is actually caring about our quality of life, our quality of living, our happiness, not just being the bigger, more powerful country that bullies other countries. And just like America first does not mean America is the first person to, you know, blow shit up. It is like
Yeah.
America first means actually caring about the people that inhabit the country. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Are you even a country if, you know, we're all fucked and unhappy and shit? So I don't know who that'll be, but hopefully someone within the next decade. Yeah, should be.
Well, yeah. From that depressing topic, let's. You want to jump into what have you been watching this week?
Yeah. So this week, Chef's Table. Been on a kick with that. It's a good little break from reality. And just, yeah, I think I talked about it last time, how it's just kind of cool because you get to learn about other people's cultures, and just learn about, you know, people's stories, how they got into cooking and how they got to where they are, and just seeing how resilient some people are with the struggles that they overcame in order to, you know, be like a top chef, have a Michelin star restaurant, etc. And then we finished up this show, Critical something Life and Death. It's a UK based reality show. It's a documentary show about, you know, their hospital there and their trauma center. And that was also interesting. But now we are planning to move on. The Biggest Loser documentary. Didn't get to it quite yet, but that's next. That's next in the queue. So yeah, how about you?
Nice. I started the documentary, so I'm 2 out of 3 episodes in. It's pretty good. We just finished season 3 of Dawson's Creek. If you watch Dawson's Creek, I'm Team Pacey, so I've been waiting for this season. So super excited. We just started the 4th season. And we haven't watched it yet, but we have it in our plans to watch the new Superman movie and hopefully the new Jurassic Park movie, because those just came out. So just waiting to get paid, and I'm gonna buy a couple movies. Yeah,
Nice.
but, yeah, I'm excited for those.
Yeah. I haven't watched Jurassic Park. I haven't watched any of the new ones, just the original. So I should probably get on that eventually. Um, I just struggle with watching things that are like fiction. Even though Jurassic Park is a little bit better because there's like the potential to be real, and it is interesting in that way. But yeah, like when it comes to, I don't know, my brain is just like I want to learn always, and it's a problem sometimes.
You want to learn, and I just want to escape. I said,
Yeah.
I don't want to think about stuff. I want to deal with other people's problems, and
Yeah, which is completely understandable. My brain is just like I want to know all the bad things that are
yeah,
happening and just want to keep absorbing, except for, Chef's Table, but I'm still learning. It's always a
yeah.
learning opportunity. It's just, yeah, if I'm not, like, I feel like antsy, I'm kind of just like,
Mhm.
I can't, like, focus because I just, yeah. So, anywho, but yeah, so cool. Um, I guess that about wraps everything up, unless there's anything else you can think of, but we've definitely we keep like making them longer and longer somehow.
Yeah.
So if anyone's still listening, what's up? You're awesome. But yeah, if you don't want to miss any further episodes, make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at the Doom Scroll Pod. And yeah, leave your comments down below. Tell us what you think on all the topics, or if you have suggestions of what you want us to cover, feel free to let us know.
Yeah. Hope everyone has a great week, and yeah, give us suggestions if you see a topic. Let us know.
Peace out, guys. Bye.